Professor Wergely's here. We created our server. We've installed a LAMP stack. We're SSHing to the server. We can view sites on the browser, but this is just plain text or even just the 5 required tags. And you'll notice we're just using Vim to create the files, and it's just difficult to use Vim to create files. Now, if you know how to use Vim, some of the best programmers in the world still use Vim. And if you know the commands for Vim, it's really quick. And it actually may be faster than some of the IDEs. But what's nice about the IDEs is it auto completes, it has color coding, and it's just really nice to use an IDE like VS Code or brackets. And the VS Code has nice extensions to actually connect to your server. But FileZilla is a good tool to use to upload files and directories to server. It's a free FTP. Now, FTP is the file transfer protocol. So if I want to transfer files to and from the server, you can use FileZilla. What's nice about it is you'll see it has 2 sides here. So the left is your local machine. The right is the server. So I can drag from my local machine to the server. I can also drag from the server to my local machine. Now, I recommend you back up your server maybe on even a weekly basis. To do that, you'll take your entire public HTML directory and put it onto your local machine. You can create different versions, or you can even just keep overriding the one on your local machine. So if I go back, go to FileZillaProject.org, and you're going to download the client version, which means it's going to be on your local machine, and it's going to be used to connect to the server. So I'm going to click on download. Okay, it's a really small file, easy to download, easy to use. They want you to do Pro, but you don't need to. Just download the regular FileZilla. It has a manual, but I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay, so I'm going to download this, open it up, and install FileZilla. Okay, FileZilla is an app, so I'll literally just drag and drop it to my applications. On Windows, it's a little bit different. Okay, so you actually have to go through the installation setup. Then I'm going to double click FileZilla or use Command Spacebar to use Spotlight. And here's what it looks like. Okay, so it's a really good tool to upload and download files to your server. Now, you can type in the information, but we're using a PIM file. So it's better to actually create a site and save it. So we're going to open up what's called Site Manager. You'll see 3 little servers here. You can click on that, or you can also click on File and then Site Manager. So you'll see I have a 2830 site here. I'm going to create a new one. So you're going to click on My Sites. Okay, I may have to delete this one. Click on My Sites, click on a new site. I'm going to put 2830 Spring 21. You can just put 2830 if you like. Make sure you follow along here. The protocol is going to be SFTP. The host is going to be your public DNS. So you need to go back to the AWS console and grab your public DNS. So if I go back, I can click on Services, click on EC2, click on Running Instances, select the instance. Okay, you'll see I actually have the public DNS right here on the main page. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to FileZilla. I'm going to paste it. The port, now when I paste this, sometimes it just looks blank. It just looks white. So if you click on the left arrow key, you should be able to see the contents. It looks like they fixed that from before. Sometimes when you paste it, it just looks white, so students will paste several times. And if you scroll left, you'll actually see the public DNS listed multiple times. That's not good. So do a Control A or Command A, backspace, delete all of it, and just do a Control V or Command V once. Paste it once and go all the way to the left. You should see the public DNS once. The port will be 22. The login type will be key file because we're using a PIM file. The username, this is different from my previous video. It's going to be Ubuntu now. And the key file is going to be your PIM file. So you'll go to it on your local machine. Okay, go to your 2830 directory, locate the PIM file, open it up, and then you should click on Connect. If you see this, this is good. This is exactly what you saw in the terminal. saying, hey, I see this is a new server. Do you trust it? I'm going to click on OK. If you see the right populate, you know you're connected to the server. And look, it went to the Ubuntu directory. If I close FileZilla, you don't need to. I'm just going to show you this and open it back up. Click on Site Manager. This is now saved. So I can double click or I can click on Connect and it'll connect back to the server. Okay. So once I'm here, none of my content is here. You will never work in the Ubuntu directory. This is the user directory. We're always going to be in the public HTML directory. So it's the same here. You do a /var /www /HTML. Unfortunately, we're not in the terminal, so there's no autocomplete. I could also do that if I go back to Ubuntu. I can open up the root directory, and I can do this manually as well. Go to var, then scroll down, go to www, and then go to HTML, and you'll see all of our code that we created on the command line is here. Now, this is important. This starts from the root. So if I just do var www HTML, it's not going to load. I have to start from the root, then go to var, then go to www, then go to HTML. So that / is important. In fact, you'll probably see a final exam or a quiz question where this / is gone. And that is different than having the / there. It's a huge difference. This is an absolute file path. It's important to have that / there. Now let's say I want to upload my portfolio site to the server. Okay, I don't have the portfolio site, but I do have a good example here, which is my to-do list. Okay, I have my to-do list. So if I open this up, okay, this is my to-do list. Let's imagine I want to put it right here in the root directory so it opens up automatically. Okay, I can grab all the contents here. If I upload the to-do list file, we can do this first. You can drag and drop from the file system. You can also look through the file system here on your local machine. So you go to users, go through all the directories here, and then you can drag and drop from the left and right here. So I can drag this to the local. I can drag it from the local over to the server. You can also drag it from the file system. So if I drag over to-do list, it's actually going to copy it up to the server. So you see it copies to-do list. So now if I go on my server, and if I put / to-do list, you'll see it actually opens up. So now this site is live. What's cool is you can share this domain to anybody in the world now. I can text this domain to anybody and they can now look at my to-do list, which is pretty awesome. I have a live site that people can actually use. And this is the whole point of having a server. You got to know some back-end development. Otherwise, you can't host your site. You can use some tools like GoDaddy or some of the other free website creation tools, but you didn't build it yourself. And it's okay not to build the site yourself, but if you go to large companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and you built your own portfolio site, it may not look the nicest compared to the templates, but you built it yourself, and that shows a lot of character. And you can make it look as good as the templates. You got to spend some time, use some CSS libraries, but a lot of the times the custom portfolio sites will catch the company's eyes more than the templates that you see online. So I recommend you build your own portfolio site even after this class. Continue building onto it, make it look nicer, make it look better, add more information, and that will help you find a job. Because what I'm teaching you here, setting up a LAMP stack, doing front-end development, people make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing this. In fact, I'll have some students go out in the industry, they'll come back, they'll say, Professor Wergeles, where's some of those videos you made about Amazon AWS? I'm doing it in my job. I need to create a server. And they'll come back and watch some of the videos. And they're making a lot of money doing this. So it's very important to understand Amazon AWS, how to set up web servers, how to do front-end development. There's a lot of money involved. In fact, if you look at all the large companies, look at Google. They're an internet-based company. Look at Facebook, internet-based company. Look at Amazon, internet-based company. Look at any of the large companies. They're all internet-based companies. So that's why web development is so important. That's the core to all these big companies. And they all have front-end, back-end, server development, database. and all the stuff that we're going to learn in this class and in 4830. So now I have FileZilla. Look how easy that was. Drag and drop. I can upload the entire contents to my server. Now, if I want to edit files, I can do that too. If I right click, do a view and edit, okay, it'll actually open up the file. You'll see mine opens up in brackets. Yours probably will not. You'll need to modify that. So if I come over here to the settings, click on FileZilla, go to the settings. On Windows, you also have settings. I believe it's under edit on Windows. And you'll come over here and you'll see I have file editing. Yours will be selected with do not use the default editor, or it'll say use the system default editor. Here you're going to select use custom, and then you're going to browse for brackets or whatever editor you want to use, like VS Code. Okay, so I'll come over here. Let's say I have VS Code. I can switch it over to VS Code if I want. Okay, let me sort these alphabetically. Okay, here's Visual Studio Code. I'm going to switch it to VS Code. You can still use brackets. Brackets is switching to VS Code, so it may be a good time to switch. Let's switch to VS Code. And you'll see use file type associations if available, or always use the default editor. You'll want to select always use the default editor. So select use custom editor. Select which one you want to use. You can still use brackets. That's fine. Maybe we'll switch to VS Code because brackets says they're switching. And then we'll say always use the default. Click on OK. And now when I right click and do a view edit, it's actually going to open up in VS Code. Now, if you look, the file is actually in a temp directory. It's in private, var, folders, GS. Look, it's some weird temp file, and then it's index.html. So this is a temp directory, and what's cool about it is, let's say I make some changes. So let's say I add a few lines here and click save. You'll actually see FileZilla will start hopping up and down, which it means it noticed some changes. So I go back to FileZilla, you'll see it says, hey, the file that you're editing, the temporary file, has been changed. Do you want to upload it to the server? And you'll say, yes, I want to upload it to the server. And if I come back and load the page, those changes will take effect. So let me change, let's say, the title tag. So here's to-do list. So I come back, you'll see it also updated there. If I come and change the title, so I'll put title test and save it. FileZilla will start hopping up and down, which means it recognizes changes. Come back to FileZilla. It says, do you want to upload it to the server? Click on yes. And if I come back and refresh the page, you'll see it now says test in the title up on the top here. So it will update the contents on the server dynamically. Now, VS Code has a great plugin you can use, but in previous semesters, it was actually crashing the server. I don't know if they have a bug in one of their add-ons or one of their extensions, but it was crashing the server, and it was something with a memory leak. I don't know what was going on with it. So be careful which extensions you use, but it's okay to use FileZilla. Update it in VS Code, save it, come back here, click on yes, and have it upload to the server. I saw some other students download other FTP software or systems like CyberDuck, but a lot of times those are paid systems. They're a little bit nicer because when you save the file, it automatically goes up. So you don't have to do that extra step, but that just depends if you want to pay money. And also they have extensions for VS Code. When you save it, it goes up to the server automatically without having to come back and click yes on FileZilla. But FileZilla is good enough. It's a good starter program. If you want to explore some of those extensions, feel free to do so. Just make sure it doesn't crash your server. If it crashes your server, sometimes it's hard to find the bugs on the server. So in some cases, it may be easier just to start a new server up if you experience some bugs. If you're spending more than 30 minutes or an hour trying to figure out what's wrong with the server, just terminate it. Start up a new one. Right now, we don't have any content on there. And make sure you're storing backups. So if I go back to FileZilla, what you'll do is you'll just copy this whole var www.html file. All of our work will be here. So on my machine, let's say I open it up and I go to downloads, or I go to my 2830 directory. You can make a directory called maybe instance data, 2830 instance data, or 2830 AWS data. And then in this directory, you literally just copy this whole var www HTML directory down. And what that's going to do is it's going to store a backup of all your code. So if your server ever goes down, you get a bug, you need to start up a new one, all you do is install the LAMP stack, go through the checklist here, just like we did earlier. And then all you do is copy that public HTML directory right back up to the server. And you get to start off where you left off. So make sure you're storing those backups. So if you lose data, that cannot be used as an excuse later. Back up your data on a regular basis. That way, if anything happens, you can go right back to where you were left off because you have a nice backup here. I recommend to do it weekly or as you're working on challenges when you're done for the night, copy it over to your local. And that way you have a backup. Now, what's cool about FileZilla is I can create files, I can move files. So let's say I want this code to be in the root directory. I would simply move it to the HTML directory. Now it's going to have a problem with index because I already have the file there. So if I remove my example hello world file, make sure you store a backup, and come back over here to to-do list and move this over. Now it works. Now when I go back, I don't need to type to-do list. I can just type the public DNS, hit enter, refresh, and it opens up automatically because it's in the root public HTML directory. This is what you should do for challenge 7. Then for challenge 8, you have a challenge 8 directory. Then for challenge 9, you have a challenge 9 directory, and so on and so forth. So challenge 7 will be in the root. You have a challenge 8, challenge 9, and so on. Now, if you're having problems loading this page, again, probably if it's just spinning and loading, most likely it's a firewall problem. If it immediately fails, most likely the path is incorrect, maybe because HTTPS. You want to make sure you're just using HTTP by clicking the left arrow and changing it to HTTP. It says not secure. Don't worry about that for now. We'll go over that more in 4830, setting up domains and SSL certificates. Right now, just get your portfolio site up to the server and make the corresponding updates. If you have problems, go back to the checklist. Make sure you sudo change mod. So let's say on FileZilla, you try to upload all your files to the server and it says permission denied. More than likely, you didn't do a sudo change mod 777 on the public HTML directory. So make sure you go through all these steps. These steps are very important. And once you do that, you can follow all the same things that I'm doing here in these videos. But make sure you go through all the videos. So we have several videos here. We created our server. We SSH to the server. Then we installed a LAMP stack. Then we created a hello world page. And then we connected FileZilla and uploaded our to-do list challenge. So make sure you go through all those steps. Make sure you read the default landing page. Make sure you go over this tutorial and read through it. That way you understand what's going on. That should be good enough for the challenge. Congratulations. You have an AWS server with a LAMP stack that can be accessible to the world. I can start sharing this domain. It's not the prettiest domain. We'll fix these domains in 4830, but I can start sharing this domain with everybody. It's exciting because now everybody in the world can access my web page. Whereas before, the web page was just on your local machine. Only you can access it, and you got to send the TAs the code to access it. Now the TAs can go to your server and access your site from anywhere in the world. And that's why the internet and web development is so exciting. It can spread like fire because anybody in the world can access it at this time. That's all you need to know for the challenge. If you got questions, you can ask me or the TAs. Stop by office hours, stop by the development night. We're always here for you. Stick with Professor Wergeles, and we'll see you next time.